Shadow of the Colossus is a game that I have great appreciation for, but I also can't necessarily say that I love it. I like it very much, but I don't love it. As many of you know, growing up in Eastern European space meant pretty much exclusively PC-centric gaming, with some exceptions, sometimes, for certain people. But the majority of the population, including me, growing up, played on PC. So I never played Shadow of the Colossus back when it was released. I often wondered how the game would influence me had I played it all the way back in 2005. It is difficult to say because by 2005 I already had huge love for games like Another World, Flashback, Heart of Darkness, the original two Prince of Persia games, also the original Russian version of Pathologic that released several months before Shadow of the Colossus, so conceptually there'd be nothing new for me when it comes to the focus on the cinematic, the minimalistic, the emotional directly influenced by gameplay. Shadow of the Colossus wouldn't have been an absolute revelation even then. And then after 2005, I have played games like Journey, Brothers, Papo and Dio, Rain, and The Last Guardian, the latter being a title that I absolutely loved, but I played it before Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, even though it was by the same developers and released after the two. In fact, I played Shadow of the Colossus for the first time only in 2018 when its remake was released. Now, for this entry, I have played the original PS2 version. I don't know if the remake will have a separate entry, probably not. Yes, the art styles are different and they give off not the same vibes, but the remake is still overall really good in that area, and other than that the game seems to have remained like 99% the same, with the same strengths and weaknesses when it comes to the actual mechanics and whatnot. But what I'm saying is that when I played Shadow of the Colossus for the first time, it wasn't something new for me. It wouldn't have been something new even if I had tried it back when it was originally released. But it feels like a lot of its impact comes from it being new. I'd hope it doesn't sound too regressive, but while obviously climbing the Colossi is something you barely even see nowadays in terms of overall game concepts and it's fantastic, and Shadow of the Colossus is an incredibly holistic experience, but in terms of how impactful it does feel like in the case of this game, for me personally, a lot hinges on whether I have played something like this before. I have, so I like it a lot. I appreciate it, it's a wonderful game, and I have played it several times already before making this ranking, and I have recommended it to my wife, who has also enjoyed it. But I don't have nearly the same reverence that I know tons of other people do. There are so many for whom Shadow of the Colossus is an absolutely special game. It's not absolutely special for me. So, when it comes to ranking... Wait, what is this? Why is only God of War, Shadow of the Colossus and Breakout are numbered, while other games in the list have lost their numbers? Well, that's temporary. As I've started diversifying the games in this ranking in terms of their year of release and genre, when I began the list a lot of the games were either arcades or closely related and most of them were from late 70s, early 80s, I realized that my original method of ranking through overall vibes wasn't effective at all and was becoming more and more complicated the bigger variety of games gets added to the list. And based on vibes, there were reasons Shadow of the Colossus could have been above God of War, and there were reasons Shadow of the Colossus could have been below it. So I needed a very widely applicable, simple method of defining whether a game's place is above or below that will be far more straightforward than considering the questions of quality, emotional impact, whether I like the setting or not, and so on. And the method I have found is one simple question. If I'm forced to choose to replay one of the two games being compared for the list, what would I choose with less amount of hesitation? And that question just gives so much clarity. Even though I find Shadow of the Colossus to be a far more cohesive experience than God of War, being more conceptually compelling for me, having, in my personal opinion, more of an artistic merit, I'd choose God of War. Because I'm thinking about the turtle colossus you have to swim behind to then climb towards the teeth on its head? Yeah, no. I'm thinking about that colossus who has to be positioned above a geyser? Yeah, no. I'm thinking about that colossus you have to hit in the eye while moving? Yeah, no. I'm thinking about... well, you get it. The artistic merits are not strong enough to overcome some considerable frustrations I have with the game in terms of actual gameplay to choose it over the much more polished and still very exciting in its own ways God of War. Now, what does this have to do with other games losing their numbers? My opinion of them didn't change. However, if I'm to start using that question I found to be very effective as a base for ranking diverse games with their own strengths and weaknesses, I can already see a bunch of games that have to change their positions if I want to be fair. And instead of starting to make changes en masse, I decided I will just do this gradually with every new ranking video released to confirm each title's relative positions, and will just mention when necessary if a game I have covered before changed them.